All right. So, Christian sent me his resume to review, and I wanted to record it for everyone else to see just when I look at a resume and do these reviews, what I'm looking for, and kind of good and bad about it. Christian, thank you so much for sending this over, and I got a few more plans. So if you, you know, I don't know, like and subscribe, whatever, so you can see more. Only thing I've done so far on Christian's resume is I censored out his phone number and email because I don't want you all seeing that, and I'm sure he might appreciate that too. So otherwise, just open the resume, and I'm actually going to change. Let me, forget a color. I'll do it later. Here, let's get a red color. Maybe a pink color. That was good. So I like the big header here. The name right at the top is good. Give me something to focus on right when I open it. And the three biggest things that I typically look for in a resume at the top is I want to know your location, remote job, whatever. I need to know what time zone you're in, or if you need to relocate. Good things to know. Phone number and email, because I'm going to have to get a hold of you somehow. So put that at the top. Don't make me find that. Don't make me assume that based on where you worked and that stuff. Just put it right at the top. LinkedIn is good if you have a GitHub or Twitter or something else you want to promote, or you have something that is good about it. Go ahead and put those in there too. But most recruiters and companies will probably be looking at your LinkedIn already, so that's a good thing to put in. A me section right at the top, pretty good and pretty common. Let's go ahead and read it. Software developer with 9 years of experience in the software industry, focused on mobile apps with Xamarin. I don't know what that is, but okay, that's fine. We don't have to know everything. And cloud with Azure. I've been working closely in the last 6 years with Microsoft to engage universities, partners, communities, Mexico City, and the early adoption of Azure technologies with workshops, conferences. Cool. That tells me just like an overview of what you're doing. It doesn't tell me a whole lot about what you actually want to do. Maybe like, hey, I want to continue doing this, or I'm looking for, you're sending this to a company. Why? What is it that you're not doing in your current role that you want? Certs are good. Usually I just include those at the bottom with like, education, some other stuff. You don't really need to put those at the top unless it's critical to like the job function. If someone says like you need security clearance or something like that, include that at the top. But in general, like certifications, you can put them near the bottom. Experience is the number one thing. I lose my mouse and I don't know why. The number one thing I like to see at the top, you're applying for a job. This is a job that the best indicator of how you're going to perform at this job is what you've done in the past. So tell me right at the top what you're doing at work. Education's important, but I like to put it near the bottom. Certifications, extra stuff, I'll put that at the bottom, because what I really want to know is what are you doing at work? What have you accomplished? And why are you different than the next person that's applying? So let's see. 2019 to 2020. These are all good. Sometimes people put a location. Again, not super important in the age of remote. But let's see. Mobile lead. Pagaloop, helping people with a simple mobile app that make payments to people or companies don't accept credit cards. So this is really interesting to include, like, what is the company? What is the thing, the main product that you do? Sometimes that's really good, especially with obscure things. If someone doesn't know what the company is or what they do, adding a little bit of background helps me as someone looking at the resume know, like, what is this field you're in? Why are you doing this? What's the job? So that's pretty good. Mobile app developer on the project app was created. This, just glancing through this, again, these sections are a little bit long. And a couple things, I see a lot of really cool stuff in here, such as technologies. So I'm seeing Azure boards and pipelines. You're doing back and front end stuff, CI/CD implementation. Like, those sorts of technologies and keywords are good to call out in here, but it's too much stuff and there's no data. I want to see some outcomes of things you've done. Did you increase sales by 80%? Did you reduce time by 5%? Whatever it is, give me a number and then tell me relatively how that's good in your market. Why is that number important? If you closed 100 Jira tickets, okay, did someone else close 1,000? Did the next person close 5? Like, I want to know some relative context here of why this number is important to you and what the outcome was for the project you're on. Don't tell me what you did, tell me what you achieved. And that's a really thing that, like, a lot of people miss, is there's no data and it's just a step by step. I did this, I did that, I did that. Not really what I'm looking for a lot of times. But I do love that there's specific technologies in here. A lot of people put like skills in a word bubble of everything, every terminology that they've worked on. I don't want that. I want those skills integrated into your work of like, give me context. When did you do web apps and Azure functions? Oh, it was at this job, because when I'm in an interview with you, I'm going to ask you about this job. And I'm going to ask you, okay, what was it like working with web apps? Why did you choose that over something else? Those are the things that I want some context around that word bubble. Don't tell me you did front end. Tell me when you did front end. So mobile developer. So again, good seeing, just some timelines and a little bit about it. Some of this, again, it's a little bit too big. If I'm getting a lot of these, I'm not a recruiter or a manager, but if I get a lot of these, I want to skim them. I want to skim 1 page, maybe 2 pages. And so we can condense some of this into more skimmable content. These are paragraphs. These are 2 to 3 sentences. I have to read this to know what it says. There's no way for me to like skim this. Like if I skim it right now, I'm like, okay, water, gas, electric, what are you doing here? Oh, okay. Let me dive into it a little bit more. Let's see. Mobile apps were created using the Torrent forms, multiple native components, also responsible for Azure DevOps configurations. So again, going back up to the top here, you mentioned some stuff up here, like what you're doing, but then I see lots of different technology. I don't know what you want. What kind of job do you want? Being more clear at the top will help me know down here why that relates to something, why that skill set might be important for something you want to do in the future. So like things like mobile testing, these are good. Just some of this, again, technologies are great to include here, but I'm seeing a lot more of like what you did, not what you accomplished, and why. There's no data, and there's no like, why are you a better candidate than the next person that may have worked at the same company? I see, what's this? How many is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs here and 2 jobs here. I generally, personally, don't go back more than 3 jobs or 6 years, whichever one comes first. A lot of times what you did 4 or 5 jobs ago won't be relevant to what you're doing or want to do next. And so a lot of times I just would say like, okay, let's just, layer invisible. Nope, select the right one. Let's just cut these out. If there's something really important that you love, we can put that somewhere else. But you don't necessarily need to include something that was 2014. I can't even count years from now, 7 years ago. It's probably not that important. So trim this down. I would maybe focus, especially since, you say this, some of this is still similar to what you're doing. Again, good technologies here. You got Kubernetes, you got .NET Core, you got Docker. That tells me you were doing this stuff 2018. That was still pretty early. And that's good to see how you were ahead of some stuff, but I don't see any stats. I don't see any outcomes, any major projects, or any relativity on like why what you're doing was important. So I want to see some of that. Mobile application. So, and some of these things responsible for a team. Oh, I gotta select. No, that's right. 3 mobile developers. Were you the manager? Were you a team lead? I need some specifics on some of these things because it's not clear to me what it is that you actually did. Okay, and here's those skills. Honestly, you did such a good job with the other stuff at the top. I don't know that a lot of this is necessary. Certs are good if you want to, call those out as like an education. I don't even see an education section in here. Oh, there it is, right above. I went too far down. So sometimes you can include certs here if it's important, and you can just list them. Make sure you list them with a year. I want to know when you got them. Like if I got my A+ this year versus I got my A+ 10 years ago, it's a little bit different. So I want to know a year on when you got those as well. But generally, like a lot of these skills, you don't need to include them here. If you are like bilingual or some other thing that doesn't fit inside that like, education sort of certificate area, like you can add a little section on like, oh, also I can do this. I can, if you want to call it, I can juggle 5 balls, whatever it is like that you think is cool or that you want someone to ask you about, go ahead and put that in there. But definitely try to keep it under 2 pages. This is going into 3 full pages almost. That's a little bit long. Activities. I'm not a mobile developer, but I can work with technologies. So some of this is kind of neat. Neat things that you're able to do, some achievements. It doesn't give me any context on when you did it or where you did it. Was this part of your job? Was this something you did extra? Some of these, might be okay, but I want to know a little bit more details about when and why you did these things. Including them in the job, description up top is good. But again, if this isn't something that had an outcome, and I don't see any data in here, here's 40 students. It's the first like number that's not a year that I'm seeing. So that's cool. Like call that out, but make sure that you have some sort of relative information on or context around when and why you did this. So overall, I think there's some things that you could add, you could remove, you could clean up, and I think this initial header is really good, a really good start. Name, details I want. So good job with that, and then the rest of it, yeah, we can figure out from there.